I cannot stop. I will not stop. Kalunga, god of death, hear my plea. Kalunga, god of death, come to me. Show me you are ready.
Pretty excited, right? 3 weeks now, and then it's popping off.
I'm excited, terrified.
Yeah, that's it. Big jump,
mate. Like, honestly, like, you know what? It's one of those ones where every single day that passes, it feels like, yes, we're getting close to releasing this game and sharing it, and that's brilliant and that's exciting. But it's also, again, because it is so personal, because it is so sort of, it really does, and like, it's not even just for me, like for everyone. I feel like it's, we're really trying to treat this as not just like a business, that we're treating it like as an art, right? Which, because games are an art form, it's in a way of expression. I think because of the fact that we've kind of pivoted and really focused on that, it adds this another layer of like terrifiedness.
Yeah.
That just sort of it just doesn't feel like just a game.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. It's like it's quite an emotional moment, because we've built this from the ground up, in the sense that it's our first game, first, like, the new studio, learning how to work with one another, figuring out that kind of language. So it's a lot.
Yeah, and it's kind of been a tough time, I think, isn't it? Like, well, I think so. The rough history that I have of the company kind of coming around. We had COVID times. You guys are fully remote. I understand you're working with EA now, with the EA Originals label as well. So there's quite a lot happening in quite a short period of time, and I feel like a lot of studios really had some hard, you say pivots, they had a lot of hard pivots. Everyone had to learn a whole different way of working, and I think you guys must have had it even tougher, because it was all your first time of doing that. So
first time doing it, first time.
How's it all going? Are you guys, you're forging ahead? I mean, your announcement at the Game Awards was my condolences on the passing of your father, but it was, you wore your heart on your sleeve, and I thought it was fantastic. And the love that you guys have obviously got with the studio and with the project is like nothing I've ever seen.
But I think that's important, and I think, like, it's funny. It's one of those ones where I'm like, that's what we always want to do. Like, no matter whatever size we grow to, how successful we are, wherever, it always has to come from the heart. And I think, like, that, it was really funny, because, again, I used to watch the Game Awards from home, because, again, you'd stream it and you'd watch it and you'd feel like you're in it, and you see all these trailers upon trailers upon trailers, and then see, announcements and there was a part of me that was like, it's cool, like, it's great. And even being in the actual space, like, I was like, this is great. But I always remember, like, there is something about being honest and speaking from the heart and being authentic that, that always captures that moment. That's what games are, right? It's an art form. And so, like, I remember, like, as I said, like, I had this idea of this, I was going to go on stage, present the game and announce it, be like, hey guys, this is what I want to do. And it just, I think I just remember that, like, at the moment thinking, fuck, we're here.
We made it. We made it. Yeah, the crowds around you, millions watching from home.
Watching from home, and you're just like, God, this is from an idea of just wanting to, honor my father and kind of show a true representation of what I believe is grief, and kind of share that, to now being at the Game Awards, where I would watch it all the time and be like, oh, what's new and exciting that's coming out? And
now you're new and exciting.
It's like, it was very surreal, man. And I think, like, it was, it's just been the whole journey, like, from the get-go, like, to even now, like, we've always kind of had this sort of mind frame or mindset of being like, we've got to tell something that's really honest and authentic to us.
Yeah.
And as long as we can do that and kind of come out the other end and be like, at least it meant a lot to us, and we were, we as gamers, we enjoyed it, and we enjoyed what we've kind of given. That's all that matters, because ultimately, there are people who, we know this, right? There are people who are going to love the game. There are people who are going to, not necessarily gel with the game. But that's fine, because ultimately, it's about essentially being honest for ourselves as artists and being able to kind of depict something truthfully. Yeah. And I think, like, that's sort of where we've gone with, and that's, kind of why I went on stage and was like, hey, guys, this is a game about my dead dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, and enjoy. I think we will. Like, I
Yeah.
played the demo, and I'll be honest, I've never really gelled very well with Metroidvania games. I don't know if it's because they tend to be a little more challenging, a little more taxing than my brain can handle. But you know what? The demo was absolutely was fantastic.
Oh,
I was
thank
blown away. I played it through. I played it on. I got like a ROG. I played it on the ROG. I played it on PC. And
Nice.
fantastic game. And it's raw as well. Like the very first
Yeah.
scenes when you come in and, Zhao, you set the scene very, very quickly. You know exactly what's going on. And knowing the backstory that goes into it just makes it much more emotional. And
Yeah.
you can kind of understand the pain, Zhao's voice when he's calling out for his bubba. It's real, and I think that's like an authenticity that you don't get with many games these days, which obviously is what you guys want to deliver. You've got that coming through. And I think I read somewhere that the ideology for the game goes back years. I think you're working on it with like your childhood friends. Is it Dom Hodge you're working on it with? From like way back as well. So I think that's to put that in it and not just think, I want to make a game. Let's tick a box. This is a passion. This is from the heart. This is from the soul.
From the heart. And it's important too, man, because really, truly, what I've realized, like game dev is tough, right? And building a studio from scratch, and especially as you say, like during the time of COVID and during like all this, like it's hard. But really, the fuel comes from being as truthfully human as possible. And like I always say this, like I always say, like even with the team, like our goal is to tell stories that go beyond, it speaks to a human truth. It's what connects us all, no matter race, gender. It's supposed to be raw and real. Like it's something that we can all truly connect with and kind of relate to.
Yeah.
No matter what background you come from, whether you come from a rich background or from a poor background, the point is that this is the stories that we want to tell brings us together, which I think is important, right? Because that's the thing about stories, right? It's like you want to tell something that can speak and connect to what you come out with something from it, right? And I feel like that's been like our sole goal, is to kind of really kind of tell something that is very specific, right? And but authentically and truthfully.
Hit that catharsis vein like dead on. Make people feel something.
I think that was it. And it's funny, like even with, and it's one of those ones where as an actor, that's sort of something that we've always connected to, or it's a trick in a way, in the sense of like, as an actor, your job is to kind of to portray these characters that feel as real as possible, and kind of be on their side, so the audience can kind of connect to a degree. And so the best way of doing that is to find something that is relatable, or something that you can relate to them, right? And you play from there. And I think like by using that essentially with building a game, or building something that feels just real and true, it's an unlimited fuel source, because it's honest,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you said about the whole like learning curve thing. How hard was that, kind of going from like behind the mic to at the drawing board, mapping out exactly your vision and putting it into play? And because what kind of role? I mean, creative. You're creative director, and so you're kind of going from, and you never did any of that before Surgent before. So this is a completely new thing for you. Isn't it?
I think it was tough, but like again, as I say, like I think it would have been harder if I was just trying to, again, like check boxes. I think like I think because I was very much led by what I felt was right, what I felt was true, and you end up learning as well, like during the process, that be it I'm talking with the artists, or I'm talking with the the designers, and they're all saying to me, maybe we should try this, even though it might have felt right the other way, by listening as well and being like, okay, cool, I'll follow your direction. That you're learning that as well. You're learning that balancing. So to me, really, it's funny, like if you've got the right team around you, and you surround yourself with people who not only like listen but also give as well, like I actually think that it makes the job a lot easier, because you're all in it together. Like it's like, I think a company, like people kind of always forget as well, like a company is a company of people, rather than necessarily just the one figurehead. Even like in film and TV, like it's not just the actor who's making this film, or the director who's making this film, it's the whole team behind them. And that's what that's really what I learned working with Ridley. and on, doing Raised by Wolves, learning like, yeah, he is a master, he's a genius, but his genius elements also come through with how he works with his team,
Yeah.
and how they're able to help him as well get
Yeah.
to get to. And I sort of wanted to emulate that and try and track that. So the journey from really being an actor to being like a creative director is just being a good listener.
Yeah.
It's
There is
really
no
being
I
an
in
actor.
team, all that kind
You know
of.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
thing, and it's like, and I think like really, in acting, you're supposed to listen, and that's the job. Your job is to listen to the other person and react. That's essentially what I just did with what I did. I have an idea and a goal as where I want to go to, but ultimately I cannot reach that without listening to my team.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it must be a fantastic team because what we've, what's come through is like the soundtrack, the art, everything looks absolutely fantastic. I really love how the game looks.
I really like. Just sorry, I just really
Absolutely.
want to say like I appreciate that, because it means a lot, because I know that you've probably seen 101,000 games under the sun.
Something about that, Mark. Yeah. Yeah.
I really appreciate that, man.
But I love the theme as well. The themes to it. So we've got like the whole like Bantu mythology piece to it, and you usually see like Greek or Roman, Egyptian, Norse. I can't think of a game where I've seen these kind of elements in it.
I know, right?
And it's just, and straight away I feel like I'm getting it. Like the stories that you put into it, talking about like your grandfather who was this. Is it Nganga or something like that? And then that comes into the game as well, and the characters establish themselves, and you get it, and you understand it, and it kind of walks you through it. So it's not even overwhelming straight off the bat. You don't have to know, you don't have to have prior knowledge going in, which I like. It kind of introduces you to it very nicely, and it all looks fantastic on the surface. Like I said, one of the questions that I had was like the origins of the vision, like when you guys actually thought this is the palette we want to use to get this story out there, to sort of take the players through this journey. We want to use this 2.5D Metroidvania style kind of game. Like, how did that sort of come about? How is that the platform?
So again, we're a small team, so we have to really pick and be very, very selective of what we want to, do, because when you go down a route, it's very hard to backtrack and kind of go differently, because and pivot essentially. You have to pivot, obviously, that's part of the whole development process, but like truly it's a lot more costly if you do it as a small team. So what a lot of it really stems from, again, that element of truth. The idea of doing the 2.5D sort of platformer style, right? I was very inspired by Ori at the time. I was playing Ori Blind Forest, and I loved that sort of journey of what it is there, and it reminded me of and I never used to play, I haven't played platformers or 2D platformers for years. And like, but when I played Ori, it reminded me of Sonic and Castlevania and like all these other 2D games that I played with my dad when I was young.
Yeah,
it kind
I think I read about the whole like gaming origins back with the Sega Mega Drive, and you know what? I was like that, because that's the exact way I got started playing Sonic, Streets of Rage with my dad. Those are my earliest gaming memories, and they're so fun to me. So I connected with that,
And so for me, it was like, that just makes sense. Like I'm making this game. I'm trying to, I'm honoring my dad. I'm honoring, that kind of sense. Let's build something that plays to when, how it used to feel like when we were a kid. And I remember Sonic felt fast, man, and Mario felt fast, and that was the element that we also wanted to capture. We wanted to capture this feeling of this fast-paced element, this nature of it all. The style, the art style, really inspired by the idea of, again, what did we used to watch when we were kids back in the day, or what did we enjoy back in the day? Looking at things like Dragon Ball Z, Shaman King, the Cartoon Networks, the Toonami, like, it's kind of a bit over the top to a degree, but it's a style that we feel like we want to pay homage to. Again, because this is we're talking to almost like the child versions of ourselves back in the day, and creating something for now, if that makes any sense. So these were very much like, the decisions we made early on. Elements like, for example, like the Bantu mythology and where that comes from, really, mate, like, and I say this all the time, like, it at its core, really, the game is like, the first thing was like, this is about the journey of grief and trying to tell that in the most authentic way possible. the element of, and that could have been in a Greek myth, Norse myth, whatever. Like it
Yeah.
could have been anything. But I think the big reason as to why it sparked from Bantu is because it's from my perspective, and like these are inspired by the stories that my dad would tell me. So these are and kind of where I grew up and the cultures that I was kind of exposed to.
Yeah.
So it just felt like this is pretty cool. This is great. This is, my story to a degree, or is inspired by my story. Let's lean into there and play into them. Besides, like, African myth and Bantu myth is like, it's crazy, man.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a
When you
lot
start
there,
reading up all the creatures and the figures and stuff, it gets pretty deep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, talking about that as well, like the colors and the palette and the art style. I read one piece that said like it's almost paradoxical in a way, because you've got this story that's about dealing with grief and loss, and there's intense emotions there, and you think something like that might lean into the morose a little bit, but this is the opposite end of the spectrum entirely.
Yeah.
Bright, flashy, whatever mask you're wearing, the effects are fantastic on the screen. It's popping, it's vibrant, and that was obviously, I'm assuming that's a creative decision that must have been led by yourself. So we're staying well away from all the dark and gloomy stuff, and this is powerful. This is bright. This is energetic.
Because after when my father died, the world kept spinning, and I think like that's the world is bright and beautiful. Really, when you look at it, and like it almost felt like. I remember that feeling. It was like I had rose-tinted glasses when my dad was alive, and then as soon as he passed away, which wasn't part of the plan, it almost felt like they were ripped off, and I saw like everything is in like it's almost like wearing sunglasses on a sunny day and then having them ripped off, and you're sort of like Jesus,
bit disoriented,
like,
yeah.
And that was what it was like. I think like for me, like, and that's just my personal journey. It felt like everything just turned up a notch, and noises were louder, things were moving faster. Like the fact that the world just continued to spin was almost like, bruh, okay, this is life. And I think like that's why I really wanted to capture this element of frenetic energy, this franticness, this because but give the player enough control that they could slow down, that they could go fast, like they can play to their own beat to a degree, That's sort of where I kind of lent into, which is why it was, because you're right. Most games that think about grief, they think about sadness, they think about death, but in some cultures in Africa, it's celebrated. Even here, like with sort of Caribbean cultures, Nine Night, like it's like a thing. It's like 9 nights of almost like celebrating the life. Even with the Irish, the wakes, it's all about and I think like there is this death is a lot of the time seen as this bad thing, and I think like whereas in some spaces it's almost seen as the next step, but it doesn't necessarily negate the feelings of sadness that you feel, and that's sort of what I wanted to capture with this.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. The other thing, so another question that we kind of had on the book was, I think this is quoted from yourself, talking about this is like just the beginning. There's a goal to create almost like a universe here. Like, the Zao is the first step. So where do you guys see this going? How is this going to unfold for Surgent? I don't know how much you're allowed to say or what you, because I'm not gonna, we got PR in here and stuff. So, I'm not going to say where do you see yourself in 10 years as a job interview style, but I mean, where does it go? I
think put it this way, right? I'm very much of the generation who grew up like playing Pokemon on my Game Boy, collecting the cards and watching it on TV. I really wanted to be immersed in these worlds, and so for me, it's like that's just the natural element of it all. Telling these stories, Tales of Kenzera is a universe that I've kind of built to be able to tell these stories that come from all these different angles that respect the medium of which they're being told in. So, Zao, for example, couldn't have been a TV show or it couldn't have been a film. It had to be a game. So like, elements like that, but there will be stories that had to be a film or had to be, a TV show or even another game. Like for me, that's what's been really crucial about what I wanted to build with this universe. And again, as I say, like I was brought up, again, playing Discworld, reading Discworld, playing on Warcraft, that kind of stuff. Those were these worlds that I kind of immersed myself in as a kid. So if I had the opportunity of being able to do the same thing, why not do it?
Yeah, and Surgeon's
You
like
know?
a multimedia studio as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
You guys, you're not just games, so you're kind of really well
Yeah.
placed to do that, I guess. So you can keep it all
Yeah,
in house and.
and I think and really truly, man, like the way I see it, it's like we're just storytellers. Like we just want to tell really cool stories and like, you know, find a really cool way of doing it. And I think that's sort of where the drive of it came. Like even in me as an actor, the only thing that's you know, I've been attracted always to good stories and like, you know, wanting to tell good stories. And I think that's been really key and crucial in regards to what the business also represents,
Yeah.
as a storytelling, like sort of creative vehicle, as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, because I wasn't sure when I read about the whole universe thing. I wasn't sure what I
Mm.
was going to envision. I was kind of leaning towards it being, you know, like a Assassin's Creed Chronicles, where you've got it's the same style of game, but you've got like China and Russia and India, and you've got all these different
Yeah.
areas that you go to. And I guess I never twigged on the name. It's Tales, you know. There's
Yeah.
more than one
Tales.
story to be told
There's
there.
more than
So
one story
that's
to be told.
So the
Yeah, and
universe has to unravel.
And I've got a plan with it, like, you know,
Yeah.
I've got like an idea of it and where I want to go with it, and you know, certain beats and elements of it all. Again, all rooted in this idea of this human truth, this idea of like what makes us human. That's what really excites me in telling stories on that. So yeah, it's, you know, Zhao is literally just an entry. You know, it's an entry point, but it's a pretty important one.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
that's it.
but
Yeah.
how that fits and solves itself within the wider universe, you will learn over time.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, I mean, I'm eager. You know, I'll be there day one. Absolutely, we'll be there day one.
I'm excited though, man, because honestly,
Absolutely.
I say, like it's one of those ones where I just, you know what's weird? Like I knew that this was gonna happen, like, but we were gonna get to the point where we talk about the game and share about it and everything. And there's like a real genuine excitement from people, which is really lovely to see.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Also like, oh wow, okay, we're here now.
Yeah.
But then it just ups the ante of like, well, I hope this game delivers.
Yeah, I mean, I could see, like I say, you know, you put your heart and soul into something you want it to, and I think it definitely will. I can't see. Like I said, I don't gel with this kind of game, and I was pulled into it. I wanted to see what was going on, and the combat. Like usually, I am so weak when it comes to games. If I can't defeat something like a puzzle or a boss like 2 or 3 times, I probably am not going to play that game. But this one, the puzzles weren't okay. One thing that got me, and it's I don't know if I've got really bad reflex or something. There's like the bits where you're sliding through the caves and there's like crystals and stuff, and you have to time the jumps. I kept mistiming them when I was sliding into the thing. I was like, I'm not going to be beaten by crystals sticking out of a wall. I'm going to get by this, and I did. And then I was, you know, I was progressing, and I actually felt like that, you know, the satisfaction for pushing on with it. So I really, really can't wait to see what I come up against and where it goes and how the story unfolds.
The trick truly is essentially, and the way we've kind of gone about it is literally leaning into the idea of what's the rhythm of this specific challenge. You know what I mean? Because I think like that's again the idea of like what I've found with my own journey of grief is like there'll be moments when I'm sad, there are moments when I'm happy, there'll be moments even when I kind of forget about it and it's just relief. But you end up there's always that moment where there's that time to think, okay, I'm feeling this, like why and what's the rhythm to this? Like truly, like if I'm feeling upset, for example, and I'm, you know, really sad about it, and I'm just thinking like, okay, how do I kind of progress forward on this? There is a rhythm and there's an element of a beat to it, and as long as you listen to that and follow that to a degree, know that it will pass and that it will change, the tune will change, you find your way sort of naturally taking a step, you know, forward every now and then. And like that, and that specific challenge space in the demo is exactly what I mean by like some people, you know, they end up dashing under the spike bits at the top rather than just literally waiting for the current to take you to pick your jump. So like, you know, but people find it differently. People find and I think that's what's so beautiful about a Metroidvania to a degree. It's almost like a mini open world in the sense of like you will find your own way of conquering this challenge because it's your own beat, and it's your own sort of rhythm, and that's sort of what we wanted to lace within this whole thing.